He ate his breakfast in the morning. He is working on his computer now. He will be going home in the evening. Is it tense or tension? Isn't there a simple way to understand the topic clearly? Cool, man. Come into my classroom and I'll change your tension into comprehension. It's all free, just like a fig that grows on tree. So sit back and relax because learning is going to be very simple and easy with Mr. B. Hello friends, my name is Bharat and you're watching English with Mr. B. In this video today, I'm going to talk about tenses. After watching this video, all your confusion will be absolutely clear because they will just disappear. I challenge you that you will not find a video like this anywhere on internet as simple as this. So I ask you to be with me till the end because every single doubt you are going to comprehend. Do like, comment and subscribe if this video gives you a different vibe. So without any further delay, let's begin. To many people, tenses is one of the scariest chapters in English grammar. But hold your breath, with me, everything is going to be very simple and easy. In English language, the method that we use to refer to time is tenses. It simply tells us about the time and the action that happened at a particular time. Okay, for example, he ate breakfast in the morning. He ate breakfast in the morning. In this sentence, what is the time? Time is the morning. This is the time. And what work did he do? What work did he do in the morning? He ate. So, tenses simply refer to the time and the work done at a particular time. So the tense is basically about the time and the work done at a particular time. I'm sure this is clear to you because this is as simple as A, B, C. So let's go ahead. Okay, now into how many categories can you divide time? You don't need a vast grammar knowledge or the vast knowledge of grammar to answer to this question. There are three different categories of time. First is the time which is already past and the time we are living in, the time which is going on right now and the time which is going to take place after some time. So in grammar as well, we can divide time, we can divide tenses into three categories, that is past, present and future. We have three categories of time: present, past and future. This is also very simple to understand. So let's go ahead. You can understand this table as a family chart. Let's say that tenses is the father and this father has three children. The name of these children are past, present and future. Father is tenses and he has three children, past, present and future. Now each child has four children. Let me write the name and get back to you. Now these are the names of four children of the father past. Father's name is tenses and he has three children, past, present and future, and each child has four children. They are past indefinite, present continuous, past perfect and past perfect continuous. So what happens? Each child takes the name of his father first and then takes his name. That is the sequence. You can understand in that manner. So past is the name of his father and indefinite is his name. So this child is also taking the name of the father, past, and then continuous. This child is also taking the name of his father, past, and then his name, perfect tense. and this child as well. Past, his father's name, and perfect continuous, his name. So it is very simple to understand. And once you understand the names of these four children of this first son past, then it is very easy to remember the names of the remaining two children as well, because the flow is the same. Let me write the names and get back to you again. Now, this is the complete family chart of the tenses. We have already talked about past tense. So now let us look at present and future. Let us look at the second son present. He has four children and their names are named exactly like how the names of the children of past tense were given. So here, present is the name of the father and indefinite tense. Present, father's name, and then son's name continuous. Present, father's name, and then perfect, and then present, father's name, and perfect continuous. Now let us look at future tense. The flow is the same. Future, father's name, and indefinite. Future, continuous. Future, perfect. Future, perfect, continuous. So this is quite very easy, isn't it? So tenses has 3 children and 12 grandchildren, and we are going to learn about each one of them, when and how they are used in our sentences. Okay, before I talk about 12 grandchildren of the tenses, when and how they are used, I would like to give you a brief idea about the verbs as well, because we cannot study tenses without studying verbs. I have made a complete video on verbs. I have given the link in the description box. If you would like to have a better clarity, you can check it out in the description box and watch the complete video on verbs. For now, I just would like to give you a brief idea only. Let's go ahead. If you want to understand the tenses, you must first understand verbs. That is the whole reason why I'm going to talk a little about verbs as well. You can identify or you can recognize the time of the verb. You can recognize the tense of the sentence just by looking at the verbs. And the verbs can be auxiliary or the main verb. For now, I'm going to tell you about different tenses of auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also called helping verbs. There are a number of auxiliary verbs such as am, is, are. Am, is, are the auxiliary verbs that belong to the present tense family. When you change am and is into past tense, both am and is become was. And when you change are into past tense, it becomes were. So was is the past form of am and is, and were is the past form of are. And was and were belong to the past tense family. Now, there are 3 forms of verbs. All verbs have 3 forms: present, past, and past participle. So when you change was and were into past participle form, third form of verb, they become been. So been is the past participle or third form of was and were. It's very simple. You can take a screenshot of it for your better understanding. And all together, am, is, are, was, were, been, all together they are called be verbs. Am, is, are, was, were, and been are all together called be verbs. Similarly, there are other auxiliary verbs like does and do. Does and do are the auxiliary verbs that belong to the present tense family. Does is used with singular subjects and do is used with plural subjects. When you change does and do into past tense, it becomes did. So did is the past form or the second form of does and do. Now, what is the third form of did? The third form or the past participle form of did is done. So this is the past participle form of did. Done is the past participle form of did. Now, do, does, did, and done. These verbs all together is called do verbs. So we have completed two verbs so far. One is be verbs, am, is, are, was, were, and been, and do verbs, that means does, do, did, and done. Now let's go to the next verbs. Now let's talk about have verbs. Have verbs have two forms. They are has and have. Has and have belong to the present tense family. Has is used with singular subjects and have is used with plural subject. When the subject is singular, use has. When the subject is plural, use have. That's very simple. Now when you change has and have into past tense, both has and have become had. This is the past form of has and have, and this is also the second form of verbs as well. Now when you change had into third form, it becomes had itself. So had is the past form as well as past participle or third form of verb as well. And all these verbs together, has, have, had, and had, all together are called have verbs. Besides be verbs, do verbs, and have verbs, there are two more verbs that are used to represent the future time, and they are shall and will. Shall and will are the two verbs that are used to represent the future time. For future tense, we use shall and will. That's all. Now I am into the most important part of today's lesson, and I want your 100% attention. Savdhani hati, durghatna ghati. A momentary loss of carefulness results in an accident. You may not be able to understand everything if your attention is lost. So be with me in this video till the end, because I'm going to open the treasure casket one after another. Let us understand how to identify each tense and when and how they are used. Let's start with the first one, simple past tense. Indefinite tense must have a subject, a verb, and an object. Object is optional, it is not always necessary, but a sentence will be incomplete without subject and verb. So in an indefinite tense, there is a subject and there is a verb and there is an object which is optional. Now this sentence is indefinite or simple sentence. Why? Because of the fact that it has only one verb. So the verb may be auxiliary or it may be the main verb, but if there is only one verb in the sentence, that means the sentence is indefinite. And now what kind of indefinite sentence it is? In order to find it out, we look at the verb. Now this verb is in past tense, right? So the present form of wrote is write, then wrote, and then third form is written. So this verb is in past tense, which simply means that it is past indefinite tense. This sentence is indefinite due to the fact that there is only one verb, that is wrote. So this one verb makes it indefinite. And if you look at the verb again, the verb is in past tense. So what happened? Past indefinite tense. Let's take another example. Let's say she was very sad this morning. Okay, now look at this sentence. If you look at this sentence, subject is she and was is the verb, and very sad this morning is not the object. In this sentence, there is no object. So this is some other word. It is not the object of the sentence. So I did not write towards the object column. So if you look at this sentence again, you see one subject and there is only one verb, was. Very sad this morning is something else. So one subject, one verb. That means it is an indefinite sentence, indefinite tense. But what kind of indefinite? In order to figure it out, in order to find it out, we look at the verb. Now verb is was. Verb is in past tense. So this verb makes us clear that this sentence is in past form. So combining everything together, summing up everything together, past indefinite tense. Let's take another example. Did Tony laugh? It's a question. Did Tony laugh? Now, this is neither the subject nor the verb in this sentence. It is simply asking a question. And Tony is the subject. And what did Tony do? He laughed. So laugh is the verb. So in this sentence, we see subject and a verb only. And we do not have any object. Object is nil. Still then, the sentence is complete. Tony laughed, or did Tony laugh? So if you look at this sentence, it is very clear that the sentence is indefinite. Why? Due to the fact that it has only one verb and one subject. Now what kind of tense, what kind of indefinite tense it is? In order to find it out, you have to go to this word, which is asking a question. So this is did. So did is the past form of do. So it is clear that the sentence is past indefinite tense. I hope this is clear to you. Now, when do we use simple past tense or past indefinite tense? Past indefinite tense is used to talk about actions that happened in the past and finished in the past. For example, the doctor examined the patient. The doctor is the subject, examined is the verb. There is only one verb. That is the reason why it is indefinite, and it is in past tense, so past indefinite tense. And the patient is the object of the sentence. So if you look at this sentence, what does it tell us? What does it tell us about? It says that the doctor examined the patient. That means the task of examining the patient is already over. The doctor examined the patient in the past, and the task of examining the patient is already over. So we use past indefinite tense to talk about actions that took place in the past and finished in the past. That's all. Now let us talk about present indefinite tense. If you have understood the concept of past indefinite tense, then understanding the concept of present indefinite tense is not at all difficult, because it is all the same. Only difference is with the verbs. That's all. A present indefinite tense also has a subject, verb, and an object. Object is entirely optional. The sentence can still be complete without the use of object, but a sentence must have subject and a verb. Verb maybe the main verb or it may be an auxiliary verb. There should be one subject, there should be one verb in present tense and an object which is optional. Let's take an example. He goes to office at 10 a.m. Now look at this sentence. He is the subject because he is the doer of the sentence. And what does he do? He goes. Goes is the verb. It's a doing word. And where does he go? He goes to office. So office is the object of the sentence where he goes. So he goes to office at 10 a.m. is the extra information given in the sentence. And it is very easy to understand. This sentence is indefinite. Why? Because it has only one verb. What kind of indefinite tense it is? In order to find it out, we have to look at the verb, the tense of the verb. In which tense it is? It is in present tense. So summing up all together, it becomes present indefinite tense. Let's take another example. She always comes late. Now, in this sentence, she is the subject, comes is the verb because it is a doing word. She, what does she do? She comes. So comes is a doing word, it's a verb, and there is only one verb. And what does she do? She comes late. So there is no object in the sentence. Late is the extra information presented in the sentence. So you see that the sentence is still complete even without the use of objects. Now, when do we use present indefinite tense? Let's discover that. We use simple present tense or present indefinite tense to express ideas that happen on regular basis. There are two things to note. We use simple present tense or present indefinite tense to talk about habitual actions. That means those things, those actions that happen on a regular basis or a daily basis. For example, he goes to office at 10 a.m. It is a habitual action. Everybody goes to office at 10 a.m. and just like everybody, he also goes to office at 10 a.m. This is a habitual action, the thing that happens on a daily basis, the action that happens on a daily basis. Look at the second example. She always comes late. This is also a habit that she has. So we use present indefinite tense to describe an action that happens on a regular basis. Point one. And what is point two? Point two is we use simple present tense or present indefinite tense to talk about universal truth. For example, 2 and 2 makes 4. This is a universal truth. Wherever you go, 2 and 2 will always make 4. So this is a universal truth. Let's take another example. Water freezes at 0 degree Celsius. So this is also a universal truth. Water freezes at 0 degree Celsius. In this sentence, water is the subject, freezes is the verb. What happens to water? It freezes. So it's a verb. And what is the object? There is no object. At 0 degrees Celsius is the extra information given in the sentence. So one subject, one verb. That means indefinite tense. What kind of indefinite tense? Since freezes, the verb is in present tense, it is a present indefinite tense. So remember, we use present indefinite tense to talk about actions that happen on a daily basis in a habitual manner and to talk about the universal truths. All right, now let's talk about future indefinite tense. What is future indefinite tense? How and when they are used. Let's talk about that. So just like present indefinite tense, future indefinite tense also has a subject, but there is an exception. Since we are talking about the future time, the time yet to happen, we use shall or will with the subject, and then after that comes verb, and then comes object. For example, she will see me tomorrow. Look at this sentence. She will see me tomorrow. In this sentence, she is the subject, will represents future tense, and see is the main verb. See is the main verb, and whom is she going to see? Me. Me is the object of the sentence, and tomorrow represents future time. It is the extra information given in the sentence. So in this sentence also we have one subject. Will is necessary. This is a bit different from present indefinite and past indefinite, because in present and past indefinite tense we did not use auxiliary verbs or helping verbs, but here in this case, in case of future indefinite tense, we have to use auxiliary verbs as well, because without the use of will and shall we cannot represent the future time. So in order to refer to the future time we use shall or will, and with this we have a main verb see, and me is the object of the sentence. So in this sentence we have one subject. Will and shall is necessary. It is a part of the rule. So we have one verb and one object. One subject, one verb, one object. So this is also an example of indefinite tense. But what kind of indefinite tense? In order to figure it out, always look at the verb. And here we look at the auxiliary verb will. So will represents future time. So we say it is a future indefinite tense. Now let us talk about how and when and how future indefinite tense is used. Before we talk about when and how a future indefinite tense is used, let's take one more example. I shall clean the house. Okay, let's look at this sentence as well. I is the subject of the sentence. It is the subject. Shall is a part of the rule, and then clean is the main verb. And what shall I do? I shall clean the house. The house is the object of the sentence. So in this sentence also we have one subject, and shall will is already there, and one verb, and then one object. So it is an indefinite tense. What kind of indefinite tense? Look at the verb. Always look at the verb shall and will. That means future tense. So future indefinite tense. If you have to change this sentence into question, it would be like this. Shall I clean the house? This is a question, but it does not mean that it changes the tense of the sentence. It is still future indefinite tense. Shall is a part of the rule, represents future tense. I is the subject, clean is the verb, and the house is the object. Subject, verb, and object. One subject, one verb, one object. That means indefinite tense. What kind of indefinite tense? Shall is there. That means future indefinite tense. Now let's talk about when is future indefinite tense used. Future indefinite tense is used to express an action or situation that will happen in future. For example, shall I clean the house, or I shall clean the house. Let's look at this example. I shall clean the house. That means you are not cleaning the house right now. You haven't already cleaned the house right now, but you are going to clean the house in future time. I shall in future time clean the house. She will see me tomorrow. Tomorrow hasn't come yet. You are talking about a future time. So she will see me tomorrow is a future indefinite tense. The action that you are going to do in future time, the action she is going to do in future time. So we use future indefinite tense to talk about an action or situation that will happen in future time. Now let's talk about what past continuous tense is and when and how past continuous tense is used. Past continuous tense is used to describe an action that was happening in the past, that was going on in the past time. Past simply means the time gone by, and continuous means an action that is or was happening. Summing up together, past continuous tense is used to describe an action that was going on in the past time. The action that started in the past and was going on in the past and has already been finished at the present time. An action that started in the past and was going on in the past and has already been finished at the present time is past continuous tense. Now let us look at the structure of past continuous tense. The structure of past continuous tense looks like this. It has a subject which is followed by was or were plus main verb plus ing plus object. This is the structure of past continuous tense, how a past continuous sentence is framed or formed. It is formed by using subject was or were, was if the subject is singular and were if the subject is plural, and followed by main verb and adding ing and then the object. For example, we were driving when the accident occurred. Look at this sentence. We is the subject, were is the verb, were because we is in plural number. Had it been I was driving. If it had been I, singular number, we would have used was. But we represents more than one, so we are using were. We were, what is it? Main verb, drive plus ing, driving. And then what happened? What were we doing? We were driving. Object is when the accident occurred. So this is an example of past continuous tense. Let's take one more example. The dog was chasing the boys. Let's look at this example. The dog was chasing the boys. The dog is the subject. Was is the auxiliary verb. Was because the dog is singular in number. There is only one dog in the sentence we are talking about, so was. Had there been dogs, we would have used were. More than one dogs, we would have used were. But the dog is one in number, so we are using singular verb. Singular subject, singular verb. The dog was. Chase is the main verb and we are adding ing to it and then the object, the boys. The dogs were chasing the boys. That means this action started in the past and was happening in the past. The dog was chasing the boys. It was happening in the past, and at this point of time, at present, the act of chasing the boys by the dog is already finished. We use past continuous tense to talk about actions that started in the past, was going on in the past, and has already been finished at the present time. The dog was chasing the boys. The dog was chasing the boys in the past. It started in the past, was going on, happening in the past, and at present it is already over. Past continuous tense. Okay, now it's time to talk about present continuous tense. If you have understood past continuous tense, understanding present continuous tense is not going to be difficult at all. So when is present continuous tense used? Let us understand that first. So present continuous tense is used to describe an action or actions happening at present now. What is happening around you? It might be possible that somebody at kitchen is cooking food. It also might be possible that dogs are barking outside. And right now at present I'm speaking with you, and right now at present you are watching my video. So many things are happening now. So we use present continuous tense to talk about action or actions happening now. The structure of present continuous tense looks like this. It has a subject plus M is R plus main verb plus ing plus object. A present continuous tense has a subject plus M is R. We have to choose one of these verbs depending on the number of subject, and then main verb, and then we add ing to the main verb and then the object. Let's try to understand this with some examples. Let's take the first example. Let's say I am talking about tenses. So in this sentence, I is the subject of the sentence. I is always followed by the auxiliary verb am in the present tense, be it present indefinite or be it present continuous. I is always followed by am in the present tense. And then comes the main verb. Talk plus ing is talking about tenses. What am I talking about? I'm talking about tenses. So tenses is the object of our sentence. I am talking about tenses. So this is the activity, this is the action going on at the present time. What am I doing now? I am talking about tenses. So this action is going on. We use present continuous tense to describe an action that is in progress, that is going on. Let's take another example. The doctor is examining the patient. Look at this sentence. The doctor is the subject, is the auxiliary verb, and exam is the main verb, plus ing is the continuous form, examining, and whom is the doctor examining? The doctor is examining the patient. Patient is the object of the sentence. So doctor is examining the patient. This is exactly what is happening right now in this sentence. There is a patient, there is a doctor, and the doctor is examining the patient. So this is the thing that is going on right now at present. We use present continuous tense to talk about action or actions going on at present. And one more thing, why did we use is? Because the subject is singular in number. The doctor is singular in number, so we use is. Had there been doctors, I would have written like this. The doctors, plural number, more than one, so I have to use are. Doctors are examining the patient. Isn't it very simple? Just look at the subject and supply the suitable verb. Singular verb if the subject is singular, and plural verb if the subject is plural. It's very simple. Okay, now it's time to talk about future continuous tense. What is a future continuous tense? When and how future continuous tense is going to be used. We are going to understand that. First, let us understand the words itself. Future simply represents the time which is yet to come. And continuous simply means anything that is happening or that will be happening in future time. So putting these two words together, we get anything that will be happening, or the action that will be happening sometime in future is future continuous tense. It is not happening now, it is not going on now, but it will be happening, it will be going on in future time or after some time. That is future continuous tense. Now let us look at the structure of future continuous tense. It has a subject and shall and will. We use shall and will to talk about the future time, to describe the future time. They are very helpful to us to talk about the future time. And we use be plus main verb is needed, and then we add ing to it because it is a continuous tense. Without ing, without adding ing to the verb, it is very difficult to write a verb in continuous form. So we use main verb plus ing, and we also need an object which is entirely optional. We do not need object all the time to make the sentence complete. Please take a note of it. So subject shall will plus be plus main verb plus ing plus object. Now let us take a look at some examples. I shall be presenting a speech tomorrow. Okay, look at this sentence once again. I shall be presenting a speech tomorrow. I is the subject, shall is the verb, auxiliary verb, because without shall we cannot represent the future time. So this is necessary. With I we usually use shall, but you can also use will. I will is also correct, but formally I shall. Shall is used with I. But even if you say I will, that's entirely correct. So I shall, then be, then present is the main verb, then ing, and then what shall I be presenting? I shall be presenting a speech is the object, and tomorrow is the extra information given in the sentence. It represents the future time. So I shall be presenting a speech tomorrow. That simply means you are not presenting a speech now. You haven't presented a speech yet, but you will be presenting the speech tomorrow. You are talking about the future time. I shall be doing this. You know that you will be presenting a speech tomorrow at this time. So when you see the future, when you see yourself where you will be and what you will be doing, we use future continuous tense. Let's take another example. They will be traveling to Manali next week. They will be traveling to Manali next week. They haven't traveled to Manali yet. They haven't traveled already, but they will be traveling to Manali in future time. They will be doing in future time. So they is the subject, will auxiliary verb, plus be plus main verb travel plus ing, to which place? Object. Where are they traveling, or where will they be traveling? They will be traveling to Manali is the object, and next week is the extra information given here. This also represents future time. And if you change this sentence into question, it will be written like this. Will they be traveling to Manali next week? Will they be traveling to Manali next week is a question. It is still the future continuous tense. I must thank you all for staying with me in this video till now and having faith on me. Few minutes more and all your doubts will be clear. So with that trust and faith in mind, let's go ahead. Okay, let us talk about past perfect tense. What is the structure of past perfect tense and how and when a past perfect tense is used? We shall talk about that. But before we go into deeper discussion, first let us have a look at the structure of past perfect tense. A past perfect tense has a subject plus had plus third form of main verb plus object. So this is the structure of past perfect tense. Now this is clear that a past perfect tense has a subject plus had plus third form of main verb plus object. Now let us understand when and how a past perfect tense is used. Past perfect tense is used to describe an action that took place in the past before another action or an action that got completed at a definite time in the past. Sounds difficult, isn't it? But with the help of some examples, the idea is going to be very clear. The plane had already left when I reached the airport. The plane had already left when I reached the airport. So the plane is the subject, had, and then left is the third form. Third form of leave is left when I reached the airport. Now according to the rule, when do we use past perfect tense? We use past perfect tense to describe an action that took place in the past before another action. So two things are happening in this sentence. First thing is the plane had already left. One action is already left and another action is I reached the airport. According to the definition, we use past perfect tense to describe an action that took place in the past before another action. So what is before another action? Before another action is I reached the airport. You reached the airport, but before that another action had already taken place. What was that? The plane had already left. I reached the airport is one action. Before that action, another thing has already happened. What has happened? The plane had already left. So we use past perfect tense to talk about action, to describe action that took place in the past before another action. Let's take another example. He had already left for school when I reached there. He had already left for school when I reached there. In this sentence also two things are happening. First, you reached there, I reached there, but before that another action had already taken place. He had already left for school. That means he was late. Let's take another example. I had already told him to come. I had already told him to come. I is the subject, had, then told is the third form of tell, and I had already told him is the object. So in this sentence also you see that action has already taken place and has got completed. So we use to talk about an action that took place in the past before another action, like these two examples I give, and to talk about an action that got completed at a definite time in the past, like this example. I had already told him to come. I had already told him to come. This took place in the past and has got completed. This is all about past perfect tense. Let's move on to the next. If you have understood past perfect tense, understanding present perfect tense will not be difficult. So if you look at the structure of present perfect tense, it is similar to past perfect tense. The difference is only that In case of past perfect tense, there was had. Now in case of present perfect tense, we have has and have depending on the number of verb. If the subject is singular, we use has, and if the subject is plural, we use have. That is the only difference. So the question is, when do we use present perfect tense? Present perfect tense is used in two ways: to describe an action that just completed now. It started in the past and got completed just before you are going to speak, or just before you are speaking. It just got completed. For example, I have done my homework. I have done my homework. What does it mean? You started doing your homework in the past, and just before you declared that you have completed your homework actually got over. You did your homework, you finished your homework, and then you said, I have completed my homework. We cannot say when the homework is going on. When the homework is going on, we cannot say that I have completed my homework. First, you do your homework, you write your homework, and then when it is done, we say I have completed my homework. So we use present perfect tense to describe an action that started in the past and got completed right before speaking. And the second is, we use present perfect tense to describe an action that started in the past and is still going on. Let me explain you with an example. I have not visited my uncle for a month. I have not visited my uncle for a month. What does it mean? You visited your uncle a month ago, and ever since then, even at the time of speaking, you haven't visited him yet. You will be visiting in future time, but since a month till now, you haven't visited your uncle. That means we use present perfect tense also to describe an action that started in the past and is still going on. Now let us talk about future perfect tense. When is future perfect tense used and what is the structure? Let us understand that. So future perfect tense is used to describe an action that will be finished in future time. That will be finished in future time. Please remember that. Future perfect tense is used to describe an action that will be finished in future time. The action has not yet happened but will happen and be finished in future time. Let's take a look at some examples and try to understand in a deeper manner. First, let us take a look at the structure of future perfect tense. A future perfect tense has a subject plus shall or will plus have plus third form of verb plus object. So this is the structure of future perfect tense. Now let us take a look at the example. They will have arrived by this time tomorrow. They will have arrived by this time tomorrow. They is the subject, will, and then have, and then third form of verb is arrived. Arrive, arrived, arrived by this time tomorrow. As I said earlier, future perfect tense is used to describe an action that will take place in future and will be finished in future. It hasn't happened yet, it hasn't taken place yet, but will take place in future and will be finished in future. So this example makes the idea clearer. They will have arrived by this time tomorrow. Tomorrow is the future time. It hasn't come yet, but by this time tomorrow they will have arrived. It does not say they will be coming, but by this time they will have arrived and they will be here with us. By this time tomorrow, they will have arrived. Let's take a look at another example. By now, they will have left for Japan next week. By now, they will have left for Japan next week. That means they haven't left for Japan. They are not leaving. They are not going right now. But by now, by this time, next week, they will have left. They will not be leaving. They will have left for Japan next week. We use future perfect tense to describe an action that will be finished in future time. Isn't it very simple? Let's go ahead. And the next is past perfect continuous tense. What is past perfect continuous tense and when and how past perfect continuous tense is used? Let's take a look at this. First, let us try to understand the entire topic past perfect continuous tense by breaking the words into fractions. What does past mean? Past simply means an action that happened before now. Past simply means an action that happened before now. And perfect means anything that is completed. Perfect means completed actions. That is the reason why we use third form of verb, completed actions. Perfect means completed actions and continuous means an action continued over a period of time in the past, continued over a period of time in the past, or are still continuing. Anything that was happening in the past or anything that is happening now is continuous. So summing up, when you put together past perfect and continuous, what do we get? Past perfect continuous tense typically refers to an action. It refers to an action that happened in the past, continued for a period of time, that happened in the past, continued for a period of time, and then completely ended in the past. Past perfect tense means an action that happened in the past, continued for a period of time, and then completely ended in the past. Let's try to understand this with the structure and examples as well. Let us look at the examples. She had been eating meat for years before she became a vegetarian. When do we use past perfect continuous tense? We use past perfect continuous tense to describe an action that started in the past, that continued for some time in the past, and completely ended in the past. So, she had been eating meat in the past time. She used to eat meat. She continued to eat meat, and then she became a vegetarian and completely stopped eating meat. And now she is a vegetarian. She used to eat meat. She was eating meat, and then she stopped eating meat, and now she is a vegetarian. The act of eating meat started in the past, was going on in the past, and then she stopped in the past, and at present she is a vegetarian. Now look at another example. Jane had been gossiping in the coffee shop for 2 hours. She was in the coffee shop. She started gossiping. She was gossiping. She continued gossiping for some time, for 2 hours, and then she stopped. Now she is no longer gossiping. We are talking about the past time. She started doing something in the past, continued for some time, and then completely ended. She had been gossiping in the coffee shop for 2 hours. She is the subject, had been, and then gossip is the first form main verb, and then ing, and then object. She had been gossiping in the coffee shop for 2 hours. subject plus had been plus first form main verb plus ing plus object. I hope the idea is clear to you. Okay, now let us talk about present perfect continuous tense. What is present perfect continuous tense and when and how present perfect continuous tense is used? Let us understand. Before we go into that, let us look at the structure of present perfect continuous tense. Present perfect continuous tense has subject plus has been or have been plus first form main verb plus ing plus object. This is the structure of present perfect continuous tense. You can even read the examples given here on the board. However, I'll be explaining it to you a little later. First, let me tell you when is present perfect continuous tense used. So, present perfect continuous tense is used to describe an action that took place in the past and is continuing at present and may continue even in future time. Let me repeat again. Present perfect continuous tense is used to describe an action that started in the past, is continuing at the time of speaking, is happening now as well, and may happen in future as well. Let us try to understand this with an example. He has been reading the book for 2 hours. He is the subject. Has been is used if the subject is singular and have been is used if the subject is plural. That is very simple. So subject plus has been plus read. First form main verb plus ing is reading, and then the object. Object is the book for 2 hours. The book. He has been reading the book for 2 hours. So what does this mean? It simply means that he started reading his book in the past. Even at the present time he is reading, and in future as well he may continue to read the book. Let us look at the second example. The dog has been barking since the evening. The dog has been barking since the evening. That means the dog started barking in the evening, is barking now, and may continue to bark for indefinite period of time. We do not know when is the dog going to stop barking. So we use present perfect continuous tense to describe an action that started in the past, happening now, and may happen in future time as well. Isn't it very easy? Let's go ahead. Now, let us talk about future perfect continuous tense. Future perfect continuous tense is used to describe actions or events that will continue until a point of time in future. Sometimes what happens, we project ourselves forward in time and then look back at the activity that would be happening. Let me repeat again. Sometimes we look forward in time and then look back at the activity or action that would be happening. In that scenario, we use future perfect continuous tense. Let us understand this with some examples. Let us look at the first example. By this time next year. Next year hasn't come yet. By this time next year, I'm projecting myself forward in time and look back, and what do I see? I will have been working on my dream project. I will have been working on my dream project. I am at present. I look back myself in future. By this time next year, I will have been working on my dream project. This is the action or the activity that I would be doing after 1 year. Isn't it? Now let's go back to another example. He will have been enjoying his holidays next week. Next week hasn't come yet. It is the future time. But we project ourselves forward in time. Next week, by this time, he will have been enjoying his holidays. He will have been enjoying his holidays. We project ourselves in future and look back at the activity or actions that would be happening. In that scenario, as I said, we use future perfect continuous tense. Now with this, we have completed discussing about all 12 grandchildren of the grandfather tenses. And to summarize, tenses is the father. He has 3 children, past, present and future, and each son has 4 children. That means 4 grandchildren from each son. And then we have 12 grandchildren of tenses, and we have discussed in detail with examples about the structures and usages, when to use, how to use the 12 grandchildren of the grandfather tense. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you have really found my video to be interesting, if this video has helped you in any way, please do not forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel, because my channel is fully loaded with such contents that will brighten up your minds and brighten up your future. Have a nice day and Happy New Year to you